Hey y'all, welcome back to Dots and Beyond. My name is Beth, and today we're setting up July in my bullet journal. In my last video, I introduced you to Tamasha, my journal for July to December of 2022. But now it is time for us to go ahead and set up the month of July. And for this month, we are heading down to Southern California, to San Diego, and visiting Comic-Con. It's going to be a superhero, nerd, geekdom good time, so let's go ahead and get started. For this setup, I have gone back to Pigmamicrons and markers. So to my right, I have a 0.05 and a 0.02 Pigmamicron. And then I also have a selection of dual tip brush pens. The colored ones are all from an Amazon Basic set. The black and the grays are Tombos. And then, you guys, I have busted out almost every stencil in my collection that has any kind of shape on it, so we're going to be using a lot of stencils in this setup as well. They are certainly becoming my go-to. Here on the right page, I am sketching out July. I tried to mimic the font from the stencil because I do use this stencil a lot more often. It's not perfect, but it gets close so that I can have a larger July. And of course, it is going to be busting out of an explosion like a good old comic book drawing would. Now, for those of you who might not be quite as big a nerds as I am, let me read you a little bit of information about Comic-Con directly from their website and their mission statement, and maybe this setup will make a little more sense. Comic-Con is dedicated to creating the general public's awareness of and appreciation for comics and related popular art forms, including participation in and support of public presentations, conventions, exhibits, museums, and other public outreach activities which celebrate the history and ongoing contributions of comics to art and culture. From the beginning, the founders of the show set out to include not only the comic books they loved, but also other aspects of the popular arts that they enjoyed and felt deserved wider recognition, including films and science fiction fantasy literature. In 1995, San Diego Comic-Con became Comic-Con International. If you're interested in attending Comic-Con, tickets are on sale now. I suggest you pick them up quick because it is July 21st through 24th, 2022. Here on the cover page, I have recreated the Comic-Con logo. I have free-handed this, so it's not perfect. The letters are a little wonky, but if you don't want to take on something like this, you could always print it on sticker paper and stick the actual logo into your journal as well. The yellow, blacks, and grays from the Comic-Con logo did inspire my entire color palette, which turned into sort of a yellow character fandom setup. Most yellow characters also include some element of red or orange, and so I've also added those to my setup, and I'm adding them here on the front page to sketch out the logo for the iconic San Diego Convention Center with its triangle-shaped building. These types of setups literally become coloring pages, so let's pop in some more color. And there is my July cover page for 2022, celebrating Comic-Con with a quote that says, "A hero can be anyone." Moving on to the calendar page, and if you are looking for a page that really has that sort of comic inspiration, then this is going to be the spread for you. I am going to start by getting as many stenciled items down on the page as I can. I told y'all this is a stencil heavy setup, and I'm pulling from every shape and stencil I've ever received as a freebie and some that I've even purchased. So those that I can find, I will link for you in the description box below, along with the rest of the supplies. Once I get all the stenciling in, I will start sketching out my yellow character for this spread, and that character is She-Ra, the Princess of Power from He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. If you are new here, my theme for 2021 was fierce fictional females. I will go ahead and leave that playlist linked in the cards above, but She-Ra almost made that list, but she didn't quite get in there, so I'm happy that I get to put her on some sort of a spread here in 2022. 25 years ago, She-Ra would totally have been a cosplay character of choice. And if you don't know what cosplaying is, dictionary.com actually defines it as the practice of dressing up as a character from a movie, book, or video game, which is definitively the simplest version of cosplay that has ever been written. The last drawing element on this page is She-Ra's sword, the Sword of Protection, and once that is down, we will go ahead and start putting in all of the lines that will make this look more like a comic book page. To do that, I keep the lines around the outside perimeter of the setup straight, and I also keep the horizontal lines in the middle straight. It's separating the vertical lines and making some of those diagonal and keeping them separated by one dot grid space that makes it look more like a comic. If you watched my last video, and I'll link that in the cards above for you, I am also using my bullet journal as a wellness workbook, and so I have brought some elements from that onto these pages. So there on my calendar you can see I have a no social media week, and I also have a no spend week. So those are two of the things that I have brought over. One of my squares is to do 2 home projects every month. Again, that's something that I have brought over from my wellness program. So there are little bits and pieces here that I have added to my monthly spread to help keep me on track with that wellness journey also. Now that I'm doing this setup, I could almost do an entire bullet journal in a comic book style. I think that would be pretty cool. And there is the monthly dashboard for July. I still have all the highlights that I need on a monthly dashboard, so my dates or important dates are in the right. I'm trying to establish some routines, so I've put areas for those there. I had an empty box, so I'm going to track my socials there. I don't normally do that. But then I also have a space for goals as well as 2 house projects. And then I have this middle square. I have no idea what I had it set aside for. That's why we're supposed to write things down on our bullet journals, people, so that we don't forget things like this. But I will at some point remember what I wanted to put there. And let's go ahead and move on to the next page. This spread will have 3 purposes. It will be my mood tracker, it will be my habit tracker, and then something new that I am adding, which is a list of accomplishments, which is literally just a list of every day, kind of like a gratitude log, but it's something that I accomplish every day regardless of how small. So I am struggling with the job that I left behind, left me shook. I'll be honest, it really took a toll on my mental health all around, and I've been struggling with some imposter syndrome, and so I thought if I kept track of something small that I do every day, it would sort of help bolster that mood. And as you can tell by this drawing already, our character for this page is Batman. And Batman is my personal favorite superhero. I actually carry a Batman wallet. And so my mood tracker is going to be a series of Batman logos all the way around the edge of the page. And I will color in one logo every day based on my color code, which I will put right next to Batman's head. Now, I did freehand these. And y'all, let me just say that symmetry is a pain in the behind, and these do not all look perfect, and I really don't care, so don't come at me for the Batman logos. I just really wanted to have a Batman logo mood tracker. It was like the one thing that I wanted to put in this journal, and so it is here. And no, they're not perfect, but I love them. Once all the logos are sketched in, I will number the 1 through 31 for my list of accomplishments. And for this journal, I did name that the feet file, F-E-A-T, not F-E-E-T, just because it fit with the whole superhero vibe. And here is the spread colored in with my mood tracker around the edge. There is my mood scale next to Batman's head. These are my habit trackers. I'll pull what I'm going to track on my habits directly from my wellness workbook each month. And then on the right, of course, I have the feet file. And y'all, this would be the one illustration that I messed up the coloring, would be my favorite character of Batman. And I did. The dark gray on his suit is supposed to be what's on his cape, and the light gray on his cape is what's supposed to be on his suit. But we're just gonna go with it and not try to fix it because mistakes happen. And let me know in the comments below if you've ever kept an accomplishment list for yourself and how that worked out. I'd love to know. Next up, we are moving on to my sleep tracker, and then what I am going to do as sort of a physical challenge each month. Now, I don't know what that's going to be for July yet. I'll Google something. It'll be a squat challenge or an abs challenge. But for now, I'm reaching for the stencils again, so we're just going to pop in the tracing for you. I have used various stencil call-out blocks to mimic the month of July, so it is set up very much like the calendar. So July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd are the top 3 there, and then it goes on through the rest of the month, and that's where I will fill in whatever the challenge is for that day once I decide what that's going to be. And if you don't know what that logo is up there that I just drew in, that is the Thundercats logo. And my next yellow character for Comic-Con is Cheetara. Another Beth fun fact is that my favorite animal growing up was always the cheetah. So when Thundercats came out and they had a character named Cheetara, well, it was inevitable that she was going to be one of my favorite characters. Drawing Chitara, however, was a little more difficult than I anticipated. I'm normally okay with cartoon characters, but her face was pretty hard to get. Now, I had this crazy idea for my sleep tracker that I was going to use a triangle for every hour of sleep, and I had put in 9 hours for each day, so 9 times 31, you do the math. I could not find the same triangle stencil that I had used. It was tiny, and here is my entire conundrum of trying to find the right stencil.
One eternity later.
There's your SpongeBob plug for all of you who wanted a yellow SpongeBob character. But what I've decided to do is just scrap the whole idea and pretty much go to a bar graph for my sleep tracker. So here I'm putting in the numbers from 1 to 31 across the top. I will use a colored triangle scale down the left side, but other than that, it's just a regular bar graph. What I am going to do differently is color the triangles on a scale, so if I only get 1, 2, or 3 hours of sleep, that's going to be red, indicating that that's not so great. 4, 5, or 6 will be in the orange, and then 7, 8, or 9 will be in the yellow. Although, honestly, 9 hours of sleep for me is not good either. I pretty much wake up feeling terrible if I get that much sleep. So here we've gone ahead and popped in the color. Like I said, this is just a big coloring book once you get all of the black lines in. But I did decide that each one of these days needed to be shaded a little bit differently. And then I needed some sort of indicator inside them. So I'm adding a star to indicate that I did the challenge for that particular day, whatever that challenge ends up being. And that will bring us to the first weekly setup. Now I have pretty much changed my weekly layout for July. I am adding a lot of the elements again from my wellness workbook to my weekly. So some of them made it onto a monthly dashboard. Other elements are making it onto a weekly dashboard. So here I am just sketching in all of the black lines first and all of course, the stencils. So in the top left corner will be my mini calendar that I have on all of my weeklies. Next to it is going to be an affirmation. So I have a list of affirmations in my wellness workbook, and I'm going to put an affirmation there every single week. To the right of that, on the right page, will be my task list, and then one spot for each day of the week. And here is my character for my first week of July, and that is good old Pikachu. Since we're back at full width, there underneath my mini calendar are 3 long lines. Those will be for a weekly habit tracker. So I'm moving some of my habits to the weekly. That's going to be things like movement and my medications. And then in the circle down there at the bottom, I also wanted to have a new word of the week. It's part of my intellectual wellness is to learn a new word each week. So that's what I'm going to put in that circle. And then in the gap between the circle and what's above it for the affirmation, I'm going to add a gratitude log. Now, I've never been really great at keeping a gratitude log on a monthly, and since I put my achievement log on my monthly, I am going to put 7 lines here on my weekly and try moving a gratitude log to my weekly setup. Since we have all of the color on the page, the only thing I have left to do is drop in all of my headers as well as the mini calendar. At the beginning of the video, I mentioned I would be using a 0.05 pigmamicron as well as a 0.02, and this is where I'm using the 0.02 is just to put in those teeny tiny numbers on the calendar. And then the very last finishing touch for the page is to add in some gray lines. And so I'm debating here where I want to put my gray lines for my gratitude log to separate one line from the next. And then I will also put in gray lines going vertical to separate Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on my task log. I did set up the other 3 weeks, but you're going to have to stay tuned to the flip through to see what characters landed on those weeks. For now, we are going to jump to my monthly review page and go ahead and get that set up. And I am setting this up like a Pac-Man board. So game over, it's the end of the month. I'm leaving room for a playlist, as well as some accomplishments and that sort of a thing. And then I have an area on the left side that's a column that says sandbox. That's really just a brain dump. I just don't like the word brain dump for me to fill in some other information. And I am struggling with the dots. Y'all don't need to see me fill in a whole lot of dots. And as I was doing this, I began to realize I don't have any of Pac-Man's fruit, and he has some fruit that fits into the color scheme. So in addition to what will be my yellow Pac-Man and my orange ghost, which may be Blinky, not sure which one that is, I am sketching in here a strawberry, and I've already sketched in an apple as well as the cherries, and so I will get those on the page as well. So there's the apple, here are the cherries down at the bottom, and then I will trace the strawberry over on the right side before resuming filling in all of the dots. While doing this setup, it occurred to me that a Pac-Man theme would look amazing on blackout paper. My monthly reflection headers for this month are going to be triumphs, tests, treats, and thoughts. Treats will be my favorite things of the month. The others I think are fairly self-explanatory. And then I also did a gray line on every other line, making them match across the spread. Now let's go back and flip through July. Thank you for coming along as we set up the month of July, and I let my geek flag fly very, very high. If you found this setup helpful, go ahead and click that big thumbs up button. And if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe and turn those bell notifications on so that you know the next time I upload and what festival we are visiting next. And while you're here, drop a yellow emoji down in the comments and tell me who your favorite yellow character is, and how many other yellow characters I could have come up with. So of course, here is Pikachu, and on week 2, I did another one of my favorites, Wolverine. Here he is. The rest of the page is set up pretty much the same. For week 3, I did Bumblebee from Transformers, another one that came out of my generation in the 80s. And then of course, I did the Yellow Ranger, mainly because she's a cat. So there's that reason. There's my wrap-up page for the month of July with Pac-Man. From whenever and wherever you are watching this, remember that you too are fierce. Thank you for choosing to spend some of your time with me today. Don't forget to check out the comment section, and I will catch you in the next one. If you enjoyed this Comic-Con setup, here are a couple more videos I think you might enjoy.